Hi there! Today I will teach you the most effective three-step stain removal method for any wood furniture in your home. These DIY tips are going to teach you how to remove water and heat stains from dining tables, coffee tables, chairs, and even some floors. There will be an additional home DIY hack for restoring furniture and floors at the end of this video. Before you can remove water and heat stains from furniture, you must first identify the type of stain and evaluate its depth and severity. Now you can go to step number 1 in this watermark and stain removal DIY hack, and that is to clean the finish on top of the stain. If the stain looks like it is on top of the finish, you will only wash the surface with warm water and a touch of liquid dish soap on a soft cloth. If the stain looks deeper or it has been there for months or even years, you'll need to add a little white distilled vinegar to the warm water and liquid dish soap on a soft towel. I err on the side of caution and go ahead and add vinegar to the soap water mixture. If you aren't sure of the severity, that's the best route to go. There's a little difference in how you remove the water or heat stain depending on if you know what caused the stain and how long it has been there. If you know the source and the time of the stain, you have to decide whether you need to apply heat or not. Here's how to determine whether you need heat to remove the stain. If you know the stain was caused by water, moisture, or condensation, and it hasn't been there more than a couple of days, you most likely will not need heat. If the stain or discoloration has been present for more than a week, or it was caused by a hot dish or steam, you must apply heat to remove it. If you have a water stain that has been there for a few days, you're going to wash the surface as outlined above. Next, you'll grab some table salt from your pantry. Begin pouring the salt on the outside perimeter of the stain. Keep pouring the salt in smaller and smaller rings until the entire stain is completely covered in salt. If the water stain is new and just on the surface of the wood, allow the salt to sit on top of it for at least 24 hours. After a day, gently brush off the salt and check the watermark on your wood furniture. If it's beginning to fade but you still see the remnants of the stain, you must add fresh salt and wait another 24 hours before removing it to check. You should see a dramatic improvement after the first salt pour. If the change is not noticeable, you may have to resort to step 2. I have a video about restoring floors without sanding that may also be helpful if your water stain is on the floor. I'll link that video in the description and in the first comment. Step number 2 for this stain removal hack is only to use vinegar and heat if you are convinced the stain is deeper than the top of the finish, and the salt method didn't work. Last year, I found a beautiful antique table with intricate woodwork at a local thrift store. I didn't realize it had several heat and water stains until the table was delivered and set up in my dining area. I have no doubt the stains were well set in, so I used this vinegar and heat method. Every trace of each stain faded away. I'll always help you to remember that you can create the home you want using the things you have with home DIY tips. You can repair and restore upcycled, thrifted, used, and passed down items. Here's how you can use vinegar and heat to restore furniture. I'm going to tell you about step number 3, but then I will also fill you in on some tips and tricks you can use to bring other household items back to life. We have tried the salt method. With that, we've decided the watermark on our wooden furniture is deeper than the surface. Step 3 is to use distilled white vinegar and a hairdryer to remove the water or heat stain. Salt, vinegar, and heat are easily obtainable things. Even on a tight budget, every penny counts these days, and making our furniture and floors last as long as possible is a great advantage to using these safe, inexpensive DIY home tips. We don't want to have a table completely refinished because of a few discolored areas caused by water or heat. Instead, we will use what we have, treat those stained areas, and continue using our beautiful antique, thrifted, and hand-me-down furniture. How to remove set-in water stains on wood, furniture, and floors. With the surface clean and dry, pour undiluted white vinegar directly on the stain. Pour a little puddle extending slightly beyond the discolored area's edges. Allow that to sit for 30 minutes to an hour. Now that you have soaked the stain, I want you to look at it and see if it has lightened, because it will not change if it is below the surface until you add some light heat. The main tip is to try one thing before adding another method. First salt, then vinegar soak, and then heat. One DIY tip is to use a microfiber cloth soaked in white distilled vinegar and intermittently re-wet the surface as you heat it with the hairdryer. You don't want a puddle, just a lightly damp surface. I began using a hairdryer set on the lowest setting. I kept the dryer in constant motion going back and forth over the water stain. The stain on my dining table was really set in. I ended up flipping the hairdryer to the high heat setting. Check the stain for changes before upping the heat. One thing that is really important when using this water stain removing hack is to never keep the hairdryer in one place for more than a few seconds. Most likely there is some type of clear coat finish on top of the wood. If it overheats, you can cause further damage or melt the finish. Use a constant rocking motion a few inches above the surface. You shouldn't rush the process to get the most bang for your buck. If you use constant, steady, back and forth heat, you'll soon see the watermark on your wood surface begin to fade. As a formulator, it never ceases to amaze me how simple vinegar and heat can significantly improve several applications. I've learned from experiments and trial and error that this is the best way to remove water stains on wood. If you follow the first two steps, you'll be able to watch the stains on your wood disappear before your eyes. How to know if it's working? To know you're making progress in removing your stain, you'll begin to see more and more signs. Don't give up and stop heating the surface if the stain doesn't immediately disappear. Give the process some time to begin working. These are indicators that heat and vinegar are restoring your wood furniture or floor. At first, I began seeing small light freckles of the original table color appear within the stain. As more of these areas appeared, I became more strategic about where I applied the heat. But this is also where you can get into trouble. Keep the dryer moving. Think of it as sunbathing. Sorry, I'm a product of the sunburned and bleach blonde 80s. You may get excited to see a tan line, but you will get burnt if you don't roll over to the other side. If you keep focusing on the areas changing to the original table color, you can burn and blister the surface. One other tip to keep from damaging your wooden furniture while removing water and heat marks is to take breaks every few minutes. Walk away from the stain, then come back to check it before continuing with the vinegar and heat. This gives the heat a bit to penetrate and allows your eyes to adjust. You may not notice progress until you return and take a second look. Now that the water or heat stain is gone, what's next? It took a few breaks and returning before I was amazed that the stains were completely gone from my antique dining table. It was as if they had never been there. In a minute, I'll discuss some tips for bringing other old things around your house back to life. But first, let's make sure those watermarks and heat stains don't return. If a wayward cup or pot does make another stain, quickly apply salt and allow it to sit overnight. The best way not to have marks on furniture is to prevent them. Keep pot holders and hot pads in view in your kitchen and dining area. We use cheese trays and cutting boards for a multitasking alternative. Be cautious when using placemats and table runners to protect wood surfaces from heat and moisture. Many times they are too thin and porous to offer adequate protection. This is especially true when used for extended periods. They may also contain polyester or another plastic derivative that can melt and fuse to wood furniture. Here's some other dining and kitchenware tips. Use non-whitening toothpaste to shine and polish silver and stainless flatware. It will bring them new life and make them gleam. Add a little baking soda to spots that look rusted or dull. Even everyday stainless will look high-end when it has a fresh glowing sheen. You can also use baking soda and or toothpaste to buff surface scratches out of stainless sinks. I would skip the soda, but toothpaste will make chrome faucets and handles shine like new. Just be sure to rinse with warm water and buff with a soft terry or microfiber cloth. So now you know all of the steps of this watermark and heat stain removal hack. We've started by assessing the damage and strategically targeting the type and depth of the stain. Now our wood furniture looks brand new. If you need help bringing even more furniture, floors, and items around your home back to life, I have several DIY home videos. Some of them have hundreds of thousands of views. My Create a Clean Home playlist would also be helpful. You can find these links and other helpful videos down below in the video description or in the first comment. If this is your first time as a guest on my channel, say hello below. I hope all these DIY tips are helpful. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. I'll see you next time. God bless.